Hello, I've recorded a couple of videos of me dumping an injector pen into a vial or attempting to and having some difficulty. I've mostly got the technique nailed down now, so I'm recording this video that will hopefully be smoother than any of the previous ones. So doing this May 2026, so if you're looking at one, don't bother looking at videos older than that. So I've got a 15 milligram zepbound tirzepatide mounjaro injector pen, and we're going to take the cap off of it to get inside. Before we do that, I want to say what I've got here is a new empty sterile vial. I pop the top off of it and I clean the top with alcohol pad just to be safe, even though this is new. This is a little larger than, I'm going to buy some smaller ones because it's a little hard to get all the liquid out of this at the end of the process. I've also got some BAC water, so this is sterile water, bacteriostatic water. So after I dump the medicine into the vial, I add this to dilute it down so I can make the dosage that I want and also to keep it sterile and safe. So I wasn't sure whether to get the water with salt or not, NaCl. I looked around online. It seems like the consensus is to use the non-salt version, so that's what I have here. If you have other comments about that, let me know. I also have the plunger from a previous pen, because sometimes it's easier to use this one than take apart the one that's inside the new pen. This is kind of an optional thing. I have a Luger, I think this is called a Luger syringe. The needle comes off of it, as you can see there, and I'm only using this to transfer the BAC water into the vial. I could use another insulin syringe, so I have an insulin syringe here. This is what I'm going to use to inject myself. It's just a little 50-unit syringe, but the needles on these are pretty small, and I actually bent one time trying to be greedy and extract multiple times the last bit of medicine out of the vial. So I'm not doing that anymore. I could use the larger needle on this. I just don't want to poke myself with this larger needle, and this syringe holds much more fluid than I need. You can see it's 0.51, so 50 units, 100 units, up to 300 units. And my doses is only 50 units the way I'm mixing mine down. So let's get to it. So to get started, we need to basically take apart or get this pen open. I leave it in the lock position and I turn it so it stays in the lock position. So that would be counterclockwise. And I've got some vice grips set to about the right thing to hold it in place. Then I just twist, and this can be pretty tough. Okay, this one wasn't too bad, so I just keep twisting and then pulling outwards some as well. And then make sure you've got your vial not too far away. So take this off gently. Okay. That's nice and loud on my glass table. And you'll see here, be careful, do not squeeze these two together because that will set off the injector. So we need to just pull this whole thing out now. And I usually do it just with my hands. You could use yeah, I'm gonna need to use it. Sometimes it'll come out, but again, do not squeeze it where it's gonna squeeze those together. So do it this way as you apply pressure. And let's get it into a position where it gets some decent force on it, so farther inward. Okay, so now it seems to be held in place, locked out pretty good. I'm just prying upward and outward. I heard it crack, so I think I've got it out. I'm gonna go ahead and release the channel locks, vice grips, and just pull it out. Okay, and then just be kind of gentle with this. Okay, and there's our vial with the medicine, and we don't want to trigger this thing, so let's take off this collar, this black collar down here. Again, be really careful because now the needle is exposed. I forget how I got this off last time. They're slightly different each time. I've noticed some of these are easier to get this collar off than other ones. Okay, so I've slid this off now. Yeah, this one's a little different, so I'm not sure how to get this off without triggering it, because that's the main thing. Or you can just stick it in the vial and trigger it, but it's going to push down. There are really powerful springs in here, so you really want to be careful and not do that. Okay, I think I'm prying off of these little tabs. I think I'll be able to get this out. Maybe not. Yeah, this one is different than the one I had last time, so I'm a little worried about setting this thing off. Well, maybe I will just set it off. Maybe I will just plunge it into the vial. I might try that. It's always nice to do things. A live demo here. Wasn't expecting it to be different this time. All right, we're gonna shoot it off into the vial. Now, the reason why not to do this from straight in the pen is because the needle barely sticks out from the bottom of the pen. So if you do that, you will likely not puncture the lid on the cap on the vial here. So let's hold this in place carefully. Okay, I went ahead and plunged it, and I understand that might have been hard to see. Sorry about that, because I had my hands in the way. But I plunged it and let that. You can see how it's come up, and the spring is there. And let's go ahead and pull this out. Let's just set that aside and be really careful about that. And you can see now we've got the liquid the medicine is in the vial. And if we take this off, we can see that the green plunger has gone all the way through. Again, I should have had my sharps container right here to put that thing away. I don't. So I'm gonna just point this away from me. So now we've got 50 units, or 0.5 milligrams, I think, 0.5 milliliters from fluid in here. So 50 units, and this is 15 milligrams from this pen. I give myself 7.5 milligrams. So basically what I want to do is cut this in half. So if there's 50 units, 0.5 milliliters in here, I want to add 50 units to this to cut it in half. So I add 50 units from the BAC water I've got here. So to do that, I'm just going to get my pen ready. I'm going to inject air into the water vial to make it easier to pull out. Let's go ahead and pull off the cap so you can see. Probably can't tell, but this needle is quite a bit thicker than the syringe, the insulin syringe needle. So I prefer not to inject myself with that. So let's go ahead and stick it in the water. And then turn it upside down. I'm going to pull out. Let's rotate this. I'm going to pull out. Okay, there's beyond 0.5. Let's go ahead and go back, move it to 0.5, our 50. And oops. Yeah, I injected maybe a little too much air, so it's pushing on it backwards. So I've got to hold it in place as I move it back down. Okay, there's our 50 units, 0.5 milliliters of BAC water. Let's inject that into our vial. Okay, and then I just dispose of this luger syringe after that. So let's mix it up. And then from this point, I can just pull out using my 50 unit insulin syringe, 50 units from here, and inject myself with that. And then I've got 50 left over. And it is a little bit hard to get all of it out from this larger vial, so I'm going to try with a smaller vial. If this is a 10 milliliter, I'm going to try I think they have like a 0.3 milliliter I can get. So I have tried holding it upside down and pulling the needle out as I'm drawing it to try to get the last bit out of it. It looks like about 5 units ends up staying in the vial if I don't do anything, and if I'm careful, I can get most of it out. But even if I'm most careful, there's usually still one left. But the more you dilute it down, the less you're actually wasting or losing. But just keep that in mind. And after I've drawn out everything, kind of my usual dosage from the vial, you can practice pulling out again with another needle and see how much is left over. So I am not a professional, as you can clearly tell. So please, if you have any comments on what I can improve, what I'm doing wrong, anything unsanitary, any other methods would be better, I greatly appreciate it.